Hearing your comments and seeing your smiles and feeling the emotions that you are bringing to this event, it's been really quite a surprisingly moving experience for me. Not surprising that it would be moving, but so many memories of the experiences we've shared together in past trainings and meetings and things I have heard about you doing and have seen you accomplishing. It really means the world. When I began the first training back in 2006, and Don Henry was there. There may be one or two others. There were only 50 people in that first event, but when it was over, I was emotional, and I said, I've been trying to make this case and bring about this change on my own, and I realized I've got to have help, and everyone has the same set of equities, the same reasons for wanting a brighter and better and safer, cleaner, more prosperous and equitable future. There were only 50 there. But when the training was over and the people who had gone through it expressed their determination to go out and help make this change, it was very emotional. That's the same feeling that came to my memory and to my heart when I have been walking through this crowd. I'm grateful to you. And I am so like you because I know the feelings that brought you to the training in the first place. I know the feelings in your heart that have caused you to continue being actively involved and to share the passion that you feel about solving this crisis. And there are many places where I go in this world where I don't have that feeling, but having all of you together in one place from countries all around the world, coming all to the same place at a venue where 194 nations and other territories besides and groups from all over the world are all trying to find a way forward. Wow, it's just an emotional experience for me. You know, I very frequently end my speeches wherever I am, especially when I'm talking about climate, by saying always remember that political will is a renewable resource. Well, it is, and the best way to renew that resource is to share the passion that brought you to be a part of this effort. It is, it's really incredible in some ways to stop and think about how much danger our world is in and how we could have gotten ourselves in this situation. It's just kind of crazy, isn't it? A scientist 50 years ago told me, Al, what's being tested is the proposition. It's kind of a geeky phrase, so forgive me. He said, what's being tested is the question of whether or not the combination of an opposable thumb and a neocortex is a viable combination on planet Earth. In God, if you don't find. But if you think of it as the pattern of creation, could God have intended for our species to be a failed experiment? An experiment in which we end up fouling our nest, destroying our habitat, making it impossible for our progeny to survive? I refuse to believe that.
Yes.
I refuse to believe it.
Yes.
And as I said the other day at the opening of the COP, sure, we're human beings and we have limitations. We all are vulnerable to pettiness and worse. And we get bogged down and we have troubles. Of course, that's part of the human experience. But we also have the God-given ability to rise above those limitations.
Yes.
And in times when we are challenged, when everything is at stake and on the line, we have done that. And we can look back on our history and celebrate with pride and as a source of courage the many times when we have come together to say, no, we understand that this is too important to not do it the right way. And this is the biggest challenge of all. This thin shell of atmosphere, so thin, encompassing the entire earth. And we're all living inside it. So we shouldn't use it as a waste disposal site that traps the heat, that causes all of these troubles that are getting steadily worse. But we now have the opportunity to change it and to make it better. And one of the most important strategies for making it better is to put climate and environmental justice at the heart of everything we do, so that the most vulnerable, the poor, and the disadvantaged, discriminated against, are lifted up. In my faith tradition, there is a teaching that the last shall be first and the first shall be last. And when we focus on those who are hurt the most, we make the most progress in the direction we should be going. I didn't intend to talk about my religious faith. I don't normally do this. I did have a scriptural reference from the Abrahamic religions in my talk on Monday, but I will make one other. I went to some highfalutin schools. I went to divinity school at Vanderbilt University. And later in my life, I went to a small country church in Tennessee. All faiths, all religions. And the truck driver who taught the adult Sunday school there asked a question that no one had ever asked in my presence and certainly had not answered. And it's a simple question, but the question startled me. The question was, what is the purpose of life? Well, once when I was younger, I got my children a little puppy, and a colleague at work came out to train the puppy. And she asked before the training started, what is the purpose of this puppy? I said, what do you mean? It's a puppy. And she said, no, is it going to be a watchdog? Is it going to go and pick up the newspaper from the driveway in the morning? Is it going to be a companion? What is the purpose of this puppy? And I thought to myself, well, if a puppy needs a purpose, a person does too. And soon after that, that question came, what is the purpose of life? And this truck driver, who was a Sunday school teacher, gave me the answer. And he said, the purpose of life is to glorify the Creator. And what does that mean? To me, as I have thought about it, it means to live one's life in a way that brings glory and praise to the Creator of all life. And I'm not trying to sound like a very religious person. I believe in the philosophy of keeping it mostly to yourself. If you do it otherwise, that's fine. But here's the point I'm making. If we are complicit in behaviors and patterns that heap utter contempt on the creation of which we are a part, that is completely and totally inconsistent with what I believe is the purpose of life. We cannot just befoul the communities in which we live. I don't know, I didn't mean to get philosophical here. We are beginning to see a meaningful change on climate policies as well. I hope we'll see an even more dramatic change. And Phyllis mentioned the launch of the Climate Trace project, tracking real-time atmospheric carbon emissions. We released an inventory today that is just the beginning, the 70,000 largest point source emission sites of climate pollution, of greenhouse gas pollution. By the first quarter of this coming year, we will have millions. By this time next year, we will have virtually all of the greenhouse gas polluting sites. And why is that important? Because it gives investors and business leaders and government officials and NGOs and activists a roadmap on how to make the biggest difference in the shortest period of time, and to really target the replacement of polluting sites with cleaner sites on a priority basis so that we reduce the most amount of pollution in the shortest period of time. So I'm excited, and the reaction has been amazing, and the Secretary General Guterres has really been a very strong ally. We are also seeing progress in other ways. You know, I mentioned Australia, but just think for a moment what's happened in the last 4 months. The United States Congress, at long last, has enacted the most beneficial climate legislation in the history of the world. Wow! I mean, it's really, really good. It has some problems with it, but the problems are minor compared to the amazing benefits. And then 1 month after that, Australia did inspire the world by changing its direction and deciding to become a leader in the sustainability revolution instead of continuing the coal debacle. And then 1 month after that, just last week, the people of Brazil, Obrigado, decided to stop destroying the Amazon. Interpreted in a religious way, but I don't mean it that way. We've had a miracle in the sharp reduction in the cost of electricity from the sun and from the wind and the use of electric vehicles. I saw a poster where somebody said, sort of sarcastically, look, if God had intended us to use solar energy, he would have put a big fusion reactor in the sky. Oh yeah, it's there. We get enough energy from the sun in 1 hour to equal the entire world's energy consumption for an entire year. Hello, that's what we need to do. But we need to make it possible for countries to finance it. And poor countries and developing countries do not have that possibility. If you want to build a solar farm in Nigeria, your interest rates will be 7 times higher than the interest rates you pay in the United States or an advanced country. That's insane. We think capitalism is the greatest system. I'm actually a capitalist, okay, but we need to reform capitalism to make it operate in a just way, and that's part of what we're trying to do here. Okay, I didn't mean to give a big policy speech. What I wanted to do here is just to say thank you, welcome, to share my deep, deep emotional feeling about what it's like to see you guys here. And to recognize your faces and to feel your hearts and to feel the passion that brought you here. This, that feeling is what is going to save our future. And I said I always close this way. Remember, political will is a renewable resource. Let's renew it. Thank you very much. Thank you.